Welcome to the Somewhat Frank podcast, hosted by entrepreneur, author, and investor Frank Gruber, and joined by entrepreneur, lawyer, and investor John Good Times Guidos. After each having successful startup exits, these two college friends cover a wide array of the latest trends and topics in tech, startups, investing, entertainment, and life. You'll notice they like to live life to the fullest with lots of adventure and believe in celebrating those important wins along the way. The podcast is produced with the help of Established, a strategic consultancy focused on corporate innovation, entrepreneurs, and the ecosystems that support and elevate them. Now it's time to be somewhat frank. Let's get to it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Somewhat Frank podcast. I'm your host, Frank Gruber, and I'm joined by Johnny Good Times Guidos and Jen Consalvo, your problems. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Frank. Happy to be here. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Can we say that still? That's actually one of the first things I wanted to talk about is there's this whole idea of, is it too late to say Happy New Year? And if it is, what should you say? And then on top of it, should we downplay New Year's Eve, and should we just cancel New Year's Eve altogether forever? What do you think? Ready, go.
Well, I have some thoughts on this, so I'll jump in. Hi, Frank. Hi, Jen. Glad to be back. I've never heard that nickname for Jen, so that's pretty, I like that a lot. That's pretty funny. So the New Year. So I feel pretty strongly, I think about a week is something I feel comfortable with, because I've had people say it to me, a little bit further out than that. It just doesn't sit right. So I'm putting my stamp down. My opinion is 1 week. And then the second part of your question, Frank, is about canceling New Year's. I don't really understand the argument on that one. And two is, like, for example, my fiance, she's from Moldova and Russian. And, in those countries, unfortunately, some people aren't allowed to practice religion, for example. And Christmas isn't a big deal. But, like, I do know for a fact that New Year's is a huge deal over there, right? So I don't know that we can necessarily cancel New Year's Eve just because of our own, thoughts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In parts of the other parts of the world, it's a real big deal.
You're right, and there's different New Year's Eves, and I guess my thought was, should we, we make this huge event, and we watch the ball drop. I get that. I get having the resolutions and all that, and kind of having a closure of every year. I think what they're thinking is these big parties. You and I have both been to them, like, right? We've been to the Drake Hotel where you pay whatever for whatever, and you go to all out all night or whatever. So Jen, yeah. I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay, so first, I agree. No canceling New Year's. We all do it in our own ways. I would like to adapt to some other traditions, though, because I can't do those big parties. I'd rather come up with some fun, different things to try. But, on the topic of saying Happy New Year, John, I kind of agree. Sometimes after a while, it starts to feel funny, but I do like saying, when I haven't spoken to someone yet in the new year or seen them, I like recognizing it and saying something like, I hope the new year is treating you well, or, just something to recognize that. But beyond January, no. But during the month of January, I feel like it's a little bit, it's a little bit open.
I like that, Jen. You actually maybe second guess my thought on that. So if it's the first time you've talked to somebody in the new year, it would be acceptable. So I think I'm good with that. You negotiated me the right way.
Well, unless it's December of that year when you're like, Happy New Year, and everyone's like, that doesn't make any sense. This guy or gal is just not making sense. Anyway, moving along here. Speaking of celebrating, we do have some celebrating to do, and I'm going to kick it off by simply breaking into verse. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. That was the best duet we've ever done, Johnny. Anyway, somebody's celebrating a birthday soon. So Jen, we wanted to make sure we wish you a happy birthday. I know it's coming up here.
Aw, thank you guys. That was the most beautiful serenade I've ever heard. I hope you record another version of that. Maybe add a little ukulele, a little guitar, something, some strings. Beautiful. Thank you.
We didn't practice a minute. So as you can, hopefully it didn't show. anyway, happy birthday. And speaking of celebrating, we also want to celebrate Scott Chisholm from Classy. Do you remember Classy out in San Diego? He just merged with GoFundMe. So that's pretty big. It's a nonprofit merging with another. So you don't see that too often. So I thought it was interesting to call out and wanted to make sure we congratulated him on that move. So good stuff happening. All right, moving along. There's lots to get through. So we want to keep moving this at a fast pace. CES 2020, Jen, you attended in person this year. I wanted to hear your feedback. I shared some of the top gadgets that were out there. We'll share those in the show notes. But I wanted to hear what you saw and what you thought was interesting.
I was one of the brave souls who ventured out there. Just to put it in context, there are about 45,000 people at CES this year. So it was down significantly from past years, but I will say the enthusiasm was palpable. Like, people were just so excited to be back there. The people who went were sort of, they were really in the spirit and in the mood. Couple things that I saw, I'm just going to venture that I spent most of my time in Eureka Park. That's the startup area. That's where we tend to live when we are out at CES. And there was a really cool flying race car. So basically like a drone that you sit in, and it's like a race car, and they had it like almost set up as a simulator so people could get in it and move around. And there was a giant screen behind it. So you almost felt like you're in, like, what was that movie, Tron or something? But right. That was pretty cool. It's such a range. There were a lot of things, Frank, you really get into like growing food and everything. There are tons of different new technologies for growing your food and really sort of amplifying your ability. And a lot of sort of green technology. I was camped out near one particular tech that I really liked, which was just a shower. You can buy the shower and install it in your house, and it is constantly recycling the water. So it has this UV process for cleaning the water, and the amount of water you use is minuscule. So there were some really exciting things there.
That's great. And speaking of water, the article I did share is it's got a Kohler Stillness bath, which is a freestanding tub that uses this technology they call perfect fill, which more or less is you can set it once and it fills at the right temperature at the right right level, I guess you could say, and you basically don't have to. You can walk away instead of worrying about it like overfilling. So that's kind of interesting. And obviously there were tons of NFT related projects that showed up at CES this year. And one thing that wasn't an NFT was actually that caught my attention was the BMW car that changes colors. So that's kind of interesting, but makes me think you may ask the question, where's my car?
Right. I was actually that's the one thing that I saw, Frank. Jen, did you happen to see that? The color changing car?
No, I saw a lot of videos of it, but I was not able to get over there.
Oh, it's so big. Oh, there you go.
But no, yeah, it was all the talk. And there were some really interesting new technologies around NFT, particularly for displaying. So seeing, the frames coming out, which can be a game changer for some people who are like, what do I do with this thing? So seeing, people's vision for how it can be incorporated into the home or business.
The JPEG, our biggest innovation yet. All right, so moving right along here, we're going to talk a little bit about some interesting things that have been happening in that NFT space, the collectible space, actually. So I don't know if you saw, but Fnatic, which is a huge company, it's actually a unicorn or decacorn, actually. It's or not a dragon, they're calling it. It's worth over $12 billion, so they're calling them dragons now, not unicorns. They basically they just acquired Topps trading cards, right? The old brand that we grew up collecting, and so really diving into that space, and they are doing some things in the NFT space as well, similar to some other athletes like Tom Brady has his play on it with autograph and other things. But interesting article about their bet on trading cards and collectibles. So
sorry Frank, to jump in. I recently, I have two little nephews that I care about very much, and I always buy them gifts and stuff like that. So do you know how hard it is to find sports trading cards to buy for people these days? I mean, I've scoured, whatever, Walmart and all over the place. It's almost impossible to find trading cards to buy these days. I'm being very serious about this. I don't know if
I didn't know that. So I used
to
see them the over by the checkout aisle in Target or over at
right.
I kind of remember where those were located. I haven't bought cards in years, but I had them years ago. But I feel like now with Fanatic, they're gonna sell them via their internet, right? That's what they're known for. So
and I'm assuming you can't even get them at like yard sales or things like that anymore, right? Like people are too savvy.
Well, they do have
sometimes.
Yeah, they do have collector shows and stuff like that. But I mean, just like regular, even myself personally, I'm interested in it. I've gone out and tried to buy, because some of these cards are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, even the new cards, because they're so rare and they have holograms and they actually have pieces of, some of the athletes' uniforms that they actually hide in packs if you're lucky enough to get one. And so I wanted for Christmas to go ahead and buy a bunch of packs of cards for friends and family, just kind of as a funny thing. And you cannot find them anywhere. And I even went into Walmart and Target, as Frank mentioned, and they said that the minute that they arrive at the store, people are there and they buy them. So you can't find them anywhere. It's crazy.
That's interesting. This is like a hoarding happening on cards, it sounds like.
Yeah, for sure.
I wonder if it has anything to do with toilet paper. We won't go there. All right, next up, we're going to go to talking about baseball because we're still talking about cards. Did you guys see the Yankees tapped a woman as a minor league manager? First time ever that this has happened. Rachel Balkovic, and she's out of Tampa with the affiliate out of Tampa. So pretty exciting stuff for the Yankees actually hiring her to be a minor league manager.
Wow, I was when you told me, I was very excited to hear this, but I will say that if you recall my reaction, Frank, I was like, really? The first? Really? Like it still blows my mind that today we still are breaking down these barriers. So yes, I applaud them. Very excited for this, and I hope the trend continues. Yeah,
definitely interesting that it's taken this long, but glad to see that happening. Speaking of games, we're going to continue along the line of gaming. There's if you get seen like out in like social media or whatever, people sharing these like little boxes like green and white and whatever. Well, that's a game called Wordle if you haven't played it, and it's kind of having a moment. People are sharing their Wordle like scores or whatever out there, and I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you guys have played this game. I wanted to get your take on it. I'm sticking to the mini crosswords and like the spelling bee things in the New York Times app, but I wanted to get your take.
I have not. I've just gone on the Vox Crosswords. I've been addicted to doing Vox Media's a crossword puzzle. So no, I haven't, but I have noticed them everywhere. Just like you said, I've been noticing all the little boxes and been like, what is going on? John, have you tried it?
I have not. No, sorry. You guys are you something new to me. I'm excited to check it out when I have a chance, but no, maybe it's an East Coast thing or something. I don't know, but I'm unfamiliar. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, it's catching on. I think Jimmy Fallon was playing it, so he's sharing his scores, and so a lot of celebrities have jumped on to share their scores. I think I saw even like Steve Martin share his like the other day via Twitter or something. So it's getting really catchy. And speaking of catchy, have you seen Encanto? Have you I know we've seen it about 1 million times.
The question is, how many times have I seen it?
Well, if you aren't familiar, it's a Disney movie that came out at Thanksgiving time, but it didn't release online until Christmas time. And I think within that span of Christmas holidays and whatnot, I think we watched it like 300 times. And in the movie, there's a song that's super catchy. It's called "We Don't Talk About Bruno," and "We Don't Talk About Bruno" gets in your head, and you cannot get it out. And it's interesting because it actually is a #1 Billboard song right now in this streaming, I guess. And it's that's not something that you would see happen a lot from a movie, especially a kids movie. But there's an article I shared about how they actually what they did and how it's gotten popular, and people are actually lip syncing on TikTok now and everything. So it gets in your head and it won't go out.
Well, I'm a big fan, and I'm just going to say that I think Lin-Manuel Miranda, who I think scored the movie and wrote a lot of these songs, is just brilliant. This movie, I feel like, could go head to head with a lot of Broadway musicals, and the score is just really, it's fascinating because parents love it and the kids love it, and that makes for a happy house. John, have you seen it?
Can I say I have? Not having any kids myself, I'm not in that world necessarily. But to your point, they're ultimately unbelievably talented, and they do so much testing before they roll out some of those things that they're just universally loved. So I will check it out when I get a chance.
Oh, you guys should watch it this weekend. It's actually really well done. So I think you'd enjoy it. So
I trust you.
put that on the list. And we're gonna shift gears here and talk about some breakthroughs. New research shows that honeybee venom can actually cure breast cancer. So that's pretty amazing. I'm not sure how they do that, but there's research I just shared that the venom actually can cure breast cancer, which I think, how are we not hearing about this more? I think that's pretty phenomenal. So there's an article that I just shared that you can read more about it and how they've figured that out. And then speaking of groundbreaking research, another one that just came out like 2 days ago is there's a virus called Epstein-Barr that contributes to mono. So if you've heard of mono, you've probably, if you had mono, you've probably Epstein-Barr flare-up is basically what that is. And they found a link where it's actually a leading cause of multiple sclerosis. So MS is basically what they're saying is caused by Epstein-Barr. So again, another huge breakthrough that I feel like has been buried. These two huge breakthroughs. I don't know. I want to get your guys' take on it if you had a chance to read these.
Yeah, I will tell you, I love it. Right. I mean, anything that can help people that are in pain or that, are struggling with some sort of a disease. I just hope that they're managing expectations and that there's some actual real science behind it. But I mean, reading the article and looking at this stuff, I mean, I love it. I hope it works out, obviously.
Especially if these are really coming from, particularly when you talk about like the bee venom, it's this really coming from a natural source. Are we trying to create some kind of synthetic version where there might introduce all kinds of new side effects? It's fascinating to me. I could read this stuff for hours. These are great articles, Frank.
I mean, yep. You've seen for years, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, right? But you've seen for years that like sound waves kill certain types of cancer cells, but they don't hurt other tissue in human beings and those sorts of things. But nothing ever really comes of it, right? It's a flash in the pan. You see the news article. It's great to see. I think it's all about execution and implementation and whether it's scalable, right? Or it's just some sort of a fluke.
And these things haven't necessarily gone through the trials, right? So it's all about the trials, the numbers, and does it get passed? Does it get approved?
Right. If it works out, throw me in a box with a bunch of bees and let's go.
Yeah, right. Yeah, definitely. All right. So we've got some big stuff happening this month. We've got our Start of the Year Summit. We're going to be hosting it in person in January 25th through 27th. It's our 9th annual event that's going to be down in Tampa, Florida, in partnership with Embar Collective, our partner down there. It's sponsored by ReliaQuest. We've got a great group of people coming together. It's our first event in person in over 800 days. So we've done a lot of stuff online, but 800 plus days, and we haven't been doing events and after doing events for a decade or so. It feels kind of weird. So it's going to be interesting. And we've got some great speakers, Jen Lim from Delivering Happiness and her best-selling book Beyond Happiness, Jesse Middleton from the Community Fund and Flybridge. He's an early WeWork team member, and I think he created WeWork Labs, right? So he'll be there, and Mac Conwell is doing a lot as he's raised a fund now and is investing in a bunch of companies with Rare Breed Ventures. Anna Mason from Rise of the Rest Fund. We've got a Hall of Fame NFL football player and Derek Brooks, who's now working with Tampa Bay Lightning and Vinnick Sports Group, and many, many more. And we've got great companies coming from all over to vie for Startup of the Year in that title. So if you're in the area in Tampa and you want to fly down there and be a part of it, there's still tickets available for the finals, which is on the 27th. And you just go check out the summit.startupofyear.com to find those out or find those tickets. And then if you can't make it, but you want to follow along, we are going to offer an online version. It's just a live stream for the 26th and 27th. And you can go to est.us/SOTY9 to check that out. If you need more details, you can also revert back to the Summit website, which is summit.startupofyear.com. So hopefully you can join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Be looking forward to it, and looking forward to some sunshine for sure.
Yeah, well, Frank, I wanted to just piggyback on that for a second because, for our listeners that do go to that website, summit.startupofyear.com, what I find fascinating and pretty exciting is if you just scroll down through all the speakers and the mentors and judges, I mean, it is pretty, tooting our own horn, it is pretty impressive, right? And one funny story I have out of while we've been working diligently for the last 2 months or so planning all of this, and I think I already told you this, Frank, but I was waking up and making some breakfast in the morning a couple weeks ago, and I got a phone call from Florida, which I thought was, I didn't know if it was a hotel or something down there or what exactly, and I answered it, and it was Hall of Famer Derek Brooks. So waking me up first thing in the morning and just chatting through some of the programming aspects of Summit. And I'm a huge football fan, and been a fan of Derek's since I was a little kid and watching him play football. And here I am eating eggs in the morning and talking to Derek Brooks. So it was a nice way to wake up. It was a kind of a funny story. I got a kick out of it. And the rest of the day I was telling all my friends and family about, chatting it up with Derek Brooks. So
that's pretty fun. It doesn't happen every day. I'm glad that happened. That is really funny. Right. And so we're looking forward to that. That's coming up, and we're going to be heading down there very soon. Before we do, though, I wanted to share a couple more things that we've been watching and reading. We're gonna close it out because we're about out of time. But while we've been doing a lot of work for this summit, I've been doing these like nighttime work sessions and things to try to get through some things. And I heard a lot of people over the holidays saying, "Oh, watch Yellowstone." So I subscribed to get Peacock to catch up, because there's now 4 seasons. So I've been binge watching these as I work. I'll have one screen with Yellowstone on, and the other screens are like, basically catching up on all the things that are going on with Summit, as we've got a lot of moving parts with that particular event. So definitely worth checking out. It's kind of like a mix between Sopranos and maybe like Lonesome Dove, or I don't know. It's got Kevin Costner, so it kind of always reminds me of Dances with Wolves, but it's not that time frame. But definitely worth checking out. It's interesting, and been watching that. Anybody else? Have you seen that? Anybody seen the Yellowstone yet?
It's on my list. Oh, sorry, Jen.
I was just saying, Frank's been watching it, but he has not been able to lure me over to it yet.
It's on my list. I've heard nothing but good things about it. I don't know if you ever get like this, but when you hear everyone talking about a show, it's almost like I have to charge myself up emotionally to get ready, because I know that I'm going to spend like the next couple weeks binge watching a show, for example. And so yep. I'm in that phase right now where I'm preparing myself to dive in, but I know I'm going to like it, and I've heard good things about it.
Well, it's light though, John. I mean, it's not light. It can be heavy. I've seen a lot of things happen in that show that you don't necessarily see every day. Animals dying and people dying, and it's just not been. I don't want to say it isn't pretty. Let's just put it that way. I guess I described that when I mentioned Sopranos and whatnot. You can probably paint your own picture from that. But speaking of light, let's switch gears. Emily in Paris is out on Netflix with their season 2, and I know you watched that one, Johnny, the first season. It's definitely I'm calling it the Sex of the City of this generation, because it's kind of got that vibe to it. I don't know. Have you seen it yet, Jen? I know you've been watching it.
Oh, I have. I've watched both seasons, and I enjoyed it very much. It's a good story. I like the cast a lot. Did you know that Emily, the lead character, is actually Phil Collins' daughter?
Yes, we did. We just figured this out recently. We're going to start a detective podcast, and we're going to figure these types of connections out, I think. But yes, definitely interesting stuff.
Well, I didn't know that, but I recently saw an article flash on my phone or something about an interview with, the young lady that plays Emily. And Lily Collins, right? And I hadn't known that either, and I did not know that either. And I read the article, and she was talking about hanging out with like the royals when they were all little kids, and how she used to go to the palace and hang out with Prince Charles and this and that. And I was like, how's that possible? What's her background? And then I realized she's Bill Collins' daughter, which is pretty cool.
Yes, I'm a big fan of that show, and I have to say that there are just certain times, whether I don't know if it's seasonal or just like what's going on in my life, that I gravitate towards lighter shows versus other times when I'm like really into the deeper, more emotional shows like Frank, Yellowstone. Like I can't commit to that right now because of everything you just said. It just feels a little heavy for me for New Year's. Sorry, John, not New Year's, for January, for the first month of the year. So I've been gravitating towards the Emily in Paris. In fact, I watched the whole season before Frank had even seen the first 3. But if I can jump on to the next one, I actually really gravitate this time of year towards things very light, like Searching for Italy. loving Stanley Tucci's Searching for Italy. If you guys haven't seen it, it is beautiful. It's a feast for the eyes and soul, and it just makes you feel so good.
I have not seen it, but I know where Italy is.
That's good.
But yeah, I've heard a lot of great things, obviously, about it. Seen parts of it, seen a couple episodes. But yeah, it makes you kind of want to go there, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it's his Stanley Tucci. If for those of you who aren't familiar, he's a famous actor. Actually made his claim to fame with making the movie Big Night, which was all based on a chef and his brother from Italy who came to the U.S. to open a restaurant. And he goes in this series, goes throughout Italy, through each region, introducing you to the food and history of that area, and it's just gorgeous.
I'm adding it to the list right now.
It does make you kind of want Italian food when you watch that show. So I get that. That's pretty interesting too. So beautiful scenes as well. So I'll have to watch more of those. I've been stuck in this Yellowstone rut because once you get on it, you can't get out. It's just one. I guess that's the theme of the movie or the show. Anyway, moving along, reading. Not a lot of time lately, but I have been reading The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. I got it for the holidays, and it's an interesting kind of everyday meditation thing. It kind of keeps you with a nice, good daily thought to get the day going because you got to fire up for the new year, right? And then anything, John or Jen, have you seen anything or been reading anything?
I read The Bomber Mafia by Malcolm Gladwell, which I thought was very interesting.
Oh, interesting. I haven't seen that one yet.
I really, really like him. He's Malcolm Gladwell, right? He's historically like an economist and just adds different. He looks at things through a different lens than what I generally do. And I always find I find his books fascinating, so much so that I really can't put him down. And there's very few authors that I react to that way. So really good book.
Ooh, right. I feel the same way about him. So I'm excited. I have not read that one yet. Got to pick it up. All right. So Frank, the following in my theme. So after watching Searching for Italy, I actually had received the book Taste My Life Through Food, written by Stanley Tucci. I received that as a holiday gift, and I've been just plowing my way through it. Love the book. Can't recommend it enough. And it even has some of his recipes that he's garnered through all of his travels through Italy and elsewhere.
Ooh, I feel like I may benefit from this. That's amazing.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you're yearning to go to Italy, so that might have to add that to the list here this year. But thank you all for joining. Thanks for sharing all your insights and everything that's you've been up to. We're looking forward to a good year, right? 2022. It's going to be a good one. So thanks for everyone for listening, and thanks for joining us. And we'll be back again soon with another episode.
Thanks for listening to another Somewhat Frank podcast episode. Be sure to rate and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to celebrate your wins, small and large, with gratitude. It will make your journey more enjoyable. We'll be back soon with another episode.